Hey, what's up, gamers? It's me, Sav here. Welcome back into another video. Today, we're talking about campaigns in games and whether or not we pay the price tag we're paying for premium AAA titles now. Do we expect at least a certain number of hours, or are we happy that if the game's good enough, do we care? February 2022 is going to be a big month for a few reasons. January is always a little bit of a funny one in the gaming world, because not only have we come at the back of a pandemic, obviously, but 2021 was good for games to a degree. 2022 is looking really, really exciting for a few in particular. We'll talk about them now, but for me, January is always the month just as the year starts. No one's got any money. Gamer developers know this. They're not going to start bringing out games willy-nilly because they know, in reality, we're not really going to invest that much this month. But February, that's when things start getting cookie. That's when things start getting exciting. Cookie? What the hell does that even mean? Things start getting exciting, okay? Now, we've got three big games. Today, actually, as I'm recording this video, Pokemon Arceus, the new Pokemon Legends game, came out, which is one of the big games that people are excited about, okay? I'm not saying that's not going to be a big one for the Switch and Pokemon fans. Of course it is. But the three, for me, the big AAAs that are coming out in February are as follows. Dying Light 2, Horizon Zero Dawn, Forbidden West, as well as the almighty Elden Ring. Now, we know, if you've played any of the Forbidden, you've played the kind of Horizon Zero Dawn games, you know that the previous iteration on the PS4 was absolutely stellar. It was amazing. It's regarded as one of the greatest. The campaign was not the most, I guess, evocative. It wasn't the most kind of like, a story that I'm going to remember for the ages. It was good, but it was the gameplay, it was the mechanics around the kind of dinosaur machine robots that you were kind of fighting, and you all kind of like in primitive kind of like cave style spears and whatnot you were using to utilize kind of like the environment. It was great, and visually it was unreal. That'll be great. I have no doubt about that. But the two games this week, Dying Light 2 as well as Elden Ring, came out, and they said a few kind of interesting things. Now, Elden Ring's a game which is being developed alongside the Game of Thrones team, and that's going to be just amazing, like dragons and Skyrim-esque. It's going to be so fantastically amazing. I can't wait to get my hands on it. But they've come out and said that basically it's only going to be around 30 hours long. Now, 30 hours for most people is solid. Okay, it's a solid game. Dying Light 2 Stay Human, which is going to come out at the beginning of the month, I think February 4th. They're saying, the developers, Techland, that there is around 500 hours worth of content. Mate, what? 500 hours? That is mad. That is crazy amounts of time. That's 500 hours. But are they just saying that to go, oh, that's definitely worth a purchase? In reality, it's not like that. The campaign apparently in that game is 20 hours long, okay? But everything else that goes with it is the other 480 hours. So God knows what kind of side missions are going on there. Apparently, you could basically, in the time it would take you to walk from Warsaw in Poland to Madrid in Spain, is the time you could spend on playing this game. Apparently, that's a thing. That's a thing that they've come out with. But it got me thinking about like games in general, and whether or not we actually there's an expectation now playing games, whether or not we want them to have a certain length. Okay, one of the biggest games for me of the last few years was Ghost of Tsushima. I think it was one of the most, I'm still playing it now, one of the most beautiful games. I'm trying to platinum this puppy. I'm really close now. One of the most beautiful games, one of the most inviting stories. It had tons of there's a balance for me, and this could be the same for you. It might not be. For me, there's a real balance here, and the balance is the combat elements with the RPG kind of leveling up elements, where you kind of like create your own adventure in terms of create your own character with like kind of like how you want to level up, and also the amount of extra bits that you can do outside of the main storyline campaign. Now, the Icky Island DLC that came with the director's cut was great. It was like 10 to 15 hours, and that's the only DLC. I don't see there being any more DLC. Obviously, Ghost of Tsushima being the last PS4 original title that came out prior to the PS5 being launched. And I think for me, the PS5 version, I actually didn't bother upgrading it to the PS5 version and because the PS4 one looked so good, it's so beautiful. I thought, I don't need to spend the extra money. Like, I'm getting the same brilliant experience. It's that great. It's that crisp. I don't need to really do that. But that for me was a game that I fully invested in, because I thought it was the length of everything, the achievability of like the kind of the trophies and elements. It was all on point. Now, Elden Ring, 30 hours. Now, there's going to be a lot more extra stuff there as well, but 30 hours for a main storyline campaign is probably I'd say kind of standard to a degree. It's a good length. 20 hours Dying Light 2 is a bit short, but you wonder 20 hours for the main campaign. How many people are going to commit to the extra 480 hours playing this game? And that's the thing with this day and age now, with campaigns in games in general. Like, I'm a huge story fan in games. I love stories. Stories for me are really important. There are some stories like playing Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought the gameplay was really fun, but the story was just lost on me. I was just like, I don't know what pink sludge monster I'm fighting now. Why? I know the characters, but I don't really care what they're getting up to. I just want to finish this because it seems completable. That's a really bad thing, but for me, that's how it made me feel. That's just my personal take on that game, which I'm still kind of, still in my library. I'm still playing now. I've recently re-downloaded Bloodborne because I was like, you know what? I actually kind of fancy kind of playing like a kind of an old school Dark Souls-esque kind of like, hack and slash, trying to get my way around, timed combat. Like I want to play it again. So there's a few games out there that kind of for me are on rotation at the moment that I'm kind of like enjoying, and most of them are kind of story driven. Obviously, I play my FIFAs and my Fortnites and my CODs as well, but for me, story games are really where my heart lies. I've always played those games growing up, and I always kind of invest, to a degree in the kind of the biggest games coming out. One of them actually came out today as well. Uncharted, the Lost, the Legacy Edition. I think it was Uncharted, the Legacy Edition came out today. Yeah. And the Legacy of Thieves collection has basically PS5'd, I think, Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, as well as it's done the Lost Legacy. Now, the Lost Legacy was a strange one for me because A Thief's End is a great game. It's a great Uncharted game. And I love the Easter eggs. Interesting that they have the Easter egg now, the Crash Bandicoot Easter egg from the PS1 that you can play in like Nathan Drake's apartment. But now like Activision are being bought out by Microsoft, which is another video I've done on my channel. You should check it out. It's interesting to down the line now, a PlayStation game featuring an Xbox character. It's there's weird stuff that's happening in the gaming space right now. But that's great. The Lost Legacy was good too, but it was obviously a significantly shorter game. It was like £27 when it launched, which says to you immediately, okay, the campaign's a lot shorter. But again, here's a game that we've kind of all played before. We've played both of them before. We're playing them again just for funsies, ultimately, or 4K beautiful magic funsies, which, to be honest, I don't know if that's not a hook for me. Like it really isn't. Like even pre-gen consoles now, PS4 deliver the goods. Like I love those. I'm happy, content. I don't have big, crazy, whopping 4K TVs that are going to really utilize the output. So for me, it's like I'm cushy, man. I could totally like play games and not really need to upgrade to that next level. Obviously, the PS5 puts out a certain standard on your regular monitors anyway. But the core of it is, the crux of it is with campaigns now is that over the years, for me, I love campaigns. I don't know why they kind of introduced them in games like Call of Duty, because we're not there for that. They do bring those things into first-person shooters sometimes because they want to kind of like, create a story arc for how the multiplayer happens. Again, lost on me. Not really that fussed. Halo Infinite is an interesting one recently. Obviously, there is a campaign that there's a kind of an open world element to it, as well as the multiplayer is kick-ass. I think for me, campaign's fun, but multiplayer is obviously more lucrative. And again, I think that happens a lot with like, your big shooters, your FPS games. They're always going to have like not quite as great a campaign because that's not where the bread and butter is of the product, really. But I'm interested to know what you guys think here as well. How much you think that there should be as a standard for a game now. I think a lot of it is the campaign at its core has that for me is the real. It's where the magic happens in that main campaign. The extra DLC stuff. And there's a few games like Ghost of Tsushima, like I mentioned, where I can really get into that side of things as well, as a completionist, as an achievement hunter to a degree. But I don't really, outside of the main story, it has to be really captivating me to jump in and do that extra, 480 hours worth of stuff. Like, it just seems overwhelming. That to me is like, oh, that's impressive. Actually, it's a bit of a turn-off because in 2022, I haven't got time to put that into the game. I haven't, I've got other things, responsibilities. I can't invest 500 hours into that. Maybe if I was a 24/7 streamer, maybe, but me personally, no. But it's interesting that now, a lot of games that are coming out, one of the big factors now that always gets publicized by the developers, publishers, is the length of the game. Because if you're charging £60, sometimes 50, 60 quid for a top tier AAA game, which you don't get on Xbox Game Pass, by the way, which are the likes of these things now, where a lot of these Xbox titles go live straight away for free, well, yeah, with the monthly kind of like fee that you pay, but they go day one onto Xbox Game Pass. You have to invest that 60, that massive, total by buying the game outright. It's interesting that you charge that amount of money. What do you want bang for your buck wise? Let me know in the comments below what you think the length of a campaign should be for a AAA game to justify the cost. I'm really interested to know, because if we're all buying all these games, all these campaigns, we're going to go broke super, super quickly. Do make sure to like the video as well. Please subscribe to the channel as well. And I'll do loads more of these commentary videos. They're coming your way. So let me know your thoughts, and I'll speak to you guys soon. Sav out. I'll see you soon.